Today I'm interviewing 30 Nerdy and Thriving. And she is a cosplayer and podcaster. And also whatever. Like I think in your podcast you mentioned you're a cosplayer, you're a
I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, and a writer, and yeah, I'm a jack of all trades, I guess.
jack of all trades. So
Yeah.
how do you keep it all together? Like how do you manage your time with all of the things that go on?
I don't know. I just it's always been my personality to like have my hands in a million different things, and I get bored easily, and so I like to I like to stay busy.
Yeah,
When I if I tell you that I'm not busy, then you need to like worry about me.
right.
So
So how did you discover cosplaying to begin with?
so the first time I ever cosplayed was 2008. My husband and I, we were dating back then, and we decided to go to San Diego Comic Con for the first time. And it was
Wow.
the first con that we'd ever been to. And it was right when like the movie studios started coming. So it just started taking off to become like what it is today.
Yeah.
And we knew people cosplayed at comic conventions. That's like the thing you do. And that year, the X Files, the second X Files movie, I Want to Believe, was coming out, and they were doing a comic book release to coincide with the release of the film. And so
Mhm.
Chris Carter and Frank Spotnitz and the creators
Yeah.
of the X Files were going to be at Comic Con, and so we were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be fun to dress up like Mulder and Scully so we could get a picture with them?" And we had only planned to do it for one day, just the one day that we were going to meet them.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because my husband was like so against it, like, "No, I don't want to dress up in costume. That's
Right.
that's so dumb." And then we did it the one day, and everybody went crazy. "Mulder, Scully, can we get a picture with you?" And
Nice.
by the end of the day, he was hooked. I was hooked. It was like
Nice.
every possible opportunity we're getting in cosplay and doing this exact thing. So
Awesome. So what was the idea with the Lego heads, Mulder and Scully? I saw that on your Instagram too. I was like, wait, what? That
yeah,
is an awesome cosplay.
yeah. So we'd been doing Mulder and Scully a couple years, and the initial thought was I was getting tired of dyeing my hair red,
Hmm.
and so I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll get a wig and whatever." And then we saw Conan O'Brien comes to San Diego Comic Con, right? And he does this like Conan Con. And there was a guy in the audience at Conan Con with like a giant Conan O'Brien Lego head on. And we were like, "Who is that dude? That's hilarious. That's so cool." So I kind of did my research, found out who it was, and then contacted the guy. And turns out he did commissions
Sweet.
of these Lego heads. And so we were like, done. We had to save up. They were pretty pricey.
Yeah.
And so we had to save up, and we got these Mulder and Scully Lego heads. And it was funny because we really thought like this will be something funny to us, but no one else will really, appreciate it as much as we will. But it turned out to be
Yeah.
still our most popular cosplay. It's kind of probably what we're most known for, and how I've gotten most of my followers is with those Lego heads. So shout out to Brickbeard's Cove. He's the guy who designed those, and we love them. In fact, we're currently in the process of trying to repurpose them a little bit and use them as a Bruce Banner and Natasha Romanoff
Nice.
cosplay. So
Nice. That would be great. Yeah. So what was your official cosplay? The Mulder and Scully then?
yeah, that was our official kind of, that was where we started, was Mulder and Scully, and then Lego Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
That's still our go-to. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. So you're cosplaying as the 13th Doctor now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Is she your favorite Doctor in the series?
Oddly enough, no, she's my second favorite
Yeah.
Doctor.
Because we all know
Um,
David Tennant is the best.
yes, yeah, the 10th Doctor is my favorite for sure. But Jodie Whittaker, yeah, she's a close second.
No, I think after David Tennant, the first episode when the 11th Doctor comes in and he eats an apple and goes, "Oh, new taste buds." What?
Yeah. Yeah, I like,
Away.
it was funny when
Matt Smith was pretty funny, but it was hard to recover from the loss of David Tennant as the Doctor.
yeah. Yeah, every time watching Doctor Who, every time the Doctor would regenerate. I mean, even after Chris Eccleston regenerated, it took me a minute to adjust. And then losing Tennant, obviously, I actually had a gap of time where I just quit watching it because I couldn't deal with Tennant being gone.
Right? That's the same thing with me. It was like we stopped watching Doctor Who because we were distraught.
Yeah. It took me a minute to come around, and then Matt Smith, I finally got into his Doctor, and then when Amy and Rory left, same thing. I was like, oh no, like I can't move on. But yeah, recently I'm trying to get my daughter into watching Doctor Who, and so Jodie Whittaker's a good first Doctor for her because she's all about girl power right now, which is great.
Well, that's good for her. You know. So, have you ever been in a cosplay contest?
Not at cons. I've entered a few on like on Instagram. But haven't won any yet. Yeah, that's the key. But yeah, we haven't entered any of the masquerades or anything like that. But we what was really cool was inadvertently, this wasn't planned, but we had entered one of these cosplay contests on Instagram, and we didn't win, but a guy, he runs a Lego company called Waller Customs, where he makes these custom minifigs, and he created a Mulder and Scully, like a whole X-Files set. And so when he saw our Lego heads, he was like, that's the coolest thing ever. And he just sent us some free Mulder and Scully minifigs. So that was cool.
Nice. That's
it was better than winning. Yeah.
Yep, better than winning. Exactly. Yeah, well, whenever you enter a contest, whenever you do anything with cosplay, you never know if that's the cosplay that's going to get you, like, the more recognition and everything like that. Because like you said, before, you have other avenues that you go through. You're a cosplayer, you're a podcaster, you're a mom, everything like that. And who knows that if your cosplay gets a hit, and then your link to your podcast is there too as well.
Right.
And then,
and that's kind of, initially when I started like my podcast social, it was kind of more, or my cosplay social, I should say. It was kind of more just to quit annoying like my friends and family by posting all my cosplay on my personal account. I was like, they're probably done with this. So I started, the second one, but then it's been cool to be able to link with fellow cosplayers and other creators, and then the podcast was kind of born of that. It was like I'm having fun, and then conventions. I've hosted panels at Phoenix Fan Fest, Fan Fusion, Phoenix Comic Con. It's had like 50 different names, but I've hosted panels there, and so when the conventions were canceled for 2020, I had that itch. I had been planning on hosting a couple panels this year, and then not being able to do that, I was like, I'll start a podcast. It'll give me the opportunity to talk about stuff anyways.
Right, exactly. Because there's so many things that you can talk about nowadays. So during the pandemic, how are you coping about not being able to go to conventions, not being able to really cosplay that much? Are you working on new cosplays currently?
So I've been, it does seem, we were planning on unveiling this year at San Diego Comic-Con the Injustice version of Harley Quinn and Joker. And it was funny because once we realized the convention was going to be canceled, we had started working on it, and then once we realized it was canceled, we were just kind of, we'll get to that later. But usually, we focus on one thing at a time, and then because we haven't had any cons to go to, we now are kind of working on multiple. So I actually I got all these pieces this year, and then We're still working on Harley and Joker. We're working on a Captain Marvel and Captain America right now. And then we're also working on Cobra Kai.
Very nice. Very nice. So, do you make your own cosplays or do you commission them?
We do a little bit of everything. So we've done our own. We're big fans of closet cosplay and just finding pieces at thrift stores and putting things together. So we're not, neither of us, I'm no seamstress and I never will claim to be. So where we kind of excel is we do commission, like we commission our Lego heads, we've commissioned our Captain Marvel and Captain America, our commission pieces. But we've done like Kilgrave. Speaking of David Tennant, we've done Kilgrave and Jessica Jones.
Yep.
And those were closet cosplays that we just pieced together from various items that we acquired.
Nice.
And then I've done Rufio from Hook.
Nice.
And that was, I think that's probably the closest thing that I've had to just a complete original creation. But even then it was pieces that I got from thrift stores that, you know, when they start look nothing like Rufio. And by the end, I'm able to change and turn it into a cosplay. So that's kind of, that's where we live. Yeah. Is in the closet cosplay commission and then building. I mean, we build props and we built, we built various pieces, wigs, we've customized wigs, things like that. But we don't sew from scratch.
Nice. So, do you prefer when you do your photo shoots for your cosplays? Do you prefer to go to on location or do you like to do the green screen effect?
We like on location. My husband's a photographer, and so he's always scouting areas for us to go. And especially because of some of the cosplays that we've done, like Mulder and Scully, and the ones that we're working on right now, Harley Quinn and Joker. He loves like urban decay, urbex, like abandoned stuff. And so he loves finding that kind of stuff. So that's where we like having our stuff. Yeah. Sorry, my son.
It's okay. Yeah.
Their view. What, bud? What?
Can you turn on a social media?
Yes, I will. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. All right, go find Micah. She'll do it. Okay. Go on.
I want to do it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. She'll find it. Go do it.
Mom life. The joys of having little ones. Yeah.
I can't escape it.
My
it
little
happens
one
during
is,
my podcast all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what happens when you're that's part of your brand. You're a mom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I'm as a teacher, I'm doing the whole online teaching thing. Oh, and so my students have just got to know my kids really well because they just come in and sit in on the lessons. There's no escaping it.
No. Yeah, of course. So yeah, that's another one where it's a hard thing for teachers and everything because now you have to learn this whole online thing, and for some teachers they're like, okay, how do I do this? What?
Yeah. I'm lucky to be a little tech savvy, and be able to. It was funny actually. My very first lesson online, I wore this. Nice. I wore this to teach my students just to see how many, if any, of my students would recognize who I was, and I had like 2 kids at the very end of like the Zoom call be all, hey, are you from Doctor Who? I was like, yes, I am, and you're my favorite student. Congratulations.
So like, you are now an A student.
Yeah.
Yeah, extra credit. No, yeah, because it's very hard to deal with everything in the COVID world right now, and a lot of cosplayers are going insane because they don't have the conventions to rely on to show off their cosplays and everything like that. But it's good. So is the podcast a new thing, or have you been doing it for a while?
It is. It's new. It's been like I think I launched in August. So hold on, bud. What?
I just not letting me do.
Okay. All right. Go ask her again. Go on. Go do it. I launched my podcast in August. And I just released, I think, my 15th episode. So I have a new episode every week on Thursdays. I release them on Thursdays. And it's been cool. I started out really just trying to produce my own content and really focusing on doing it kind of individually. And now I'm branching out and bringing in more guests and interviews and stuff like that. So it's been fun.
That's good. So, do you have any favorite cosplayers that you follow?
Yeah, so there's actually this guy who I was like, I gotta shout him out. There's this guy called if you found him on Instagram, Turbo Time
Hmm.
Cosplay.
Okay.
And he is like he does the most unique stuff. I really love cosplayers who are uh who regularly cosplay characters that not everybody else does.
Yeah, like the B
And that's
characters.
him. So Turbo Time Cosplay, he's a big one. And then just shout out to some of my fellow cosplayers who are local here in Arizona.
Mhm.
Mariachi Time Lord, you can follow him. Um, yeah, there.
Yeah,
I
there's
wish
so
I had
many.
more off the top of my
Yeah, there's
head.
so
But
many.
yeah, my it I gotta the Phoenix cosplay scene is awesome. It's like one of the best in the whole country, and there's just so many amazing, talented people out there that are like
Yeah,
constantly pushing me um to try to step it up
yeah, to step it
and be
up.
better.
Nice. It's always good. With the whole cosplay communities, you know, we've had campaigns where there's like cosplay doesn't equal consent.
Right.
We've had cosplaying is for everyone. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter like how old you are or how young you are. Like doesn't matter how skinny or fat you are. You can be a cosplayer,
Sure.
and that's good that we have those campaigns. Unfortunately, is like in some degree, you have to understand that. Okay, what
Mama,
is cosplaying?
Mama.
Hold on a second.
It's all right.
What?
What did you
Okay.
do?
All right. All right. All right. Come on. Come on.
All right.
Come on. Come on. Buddy, what? Micah, do whatever he wants.
Do whatever he wants.
Do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes.
Yeah.
Continue,
No,
Casey.
that's okay. So, with cosplaying, do you have any craftsmanship tips like or thrift stores that you frequent that you get your materials from?
So you know, Goodwill, Deserted Industries, lots of good thrift stores here locally. As far as craftsmanship tips, um, my biggest one is to be always on the lookout for, especially right now this time of year, post Halloween sales. So that has been how we've acquired a lot of our materials. Is like the day after Halloween, that stuff goes 50% off, and you always got to try to look at things like because a lot of times, like if you go to Spirit Halloween or whatever, a lot of that stuff's kind of cheap,
Yeah.
and you're like, as it's okay for Halloween, not so much for a convention. Um, but you always got to look at things with their potential. So, yeah, this piece may be cheap, but if I partner it with something else, is it going to be better? Can I make it
Yeah.
better? Or this thing may be designed for one thing, but how can I apply it to something else? My Rufio cosplay, I actually got a lot of those pieces from Spirit Halloween, but they were for something completely different. So I got, these the skull necklace and the skull jewelry, but that was all for like a oh, what is it? Like a the oh, like a witch doctor.
Okay.
So it was designed for like a witch doctor, and I was like, nope, that's coming with me.
Yep.
And then what became my wig, my Rufio wig, was actually like a Digimon, like an anime wig.
Okay.
And so I cut it and spray painted it and everything to design it the way that I wanted it to. So you got to look at things with potential, and you also got to look at things like, I may not be working on this cosplay right now, but I may want to do it in the future. And so I'm going to get a piece now for the future. So we have a lot of pieces of various cosplays in our collection
Mm,
for something we may do in the future.
nice. So, with cosplaying being more mainstream and everything, there are a lot of cosplayers out there who like to take it up a notch, so to speak, in the ways of risque content.
Mhm.
How do you battle that with your own personal beliefs or morals? Do you like go push forward with okay, maybe I'll do some risque shots to get that attention grab, or do you feel you know what? It will come when it comes.
That's an interesting question. My For me, obviously, I work in the public eye. I'm a mom. I'm a churchgoer. I'm a leader of a youth group, and
Oh yeah, so if you put any content out there that would be risque, then they'd be like,
yeah,
"You out."
yeah, exactly. So I'm always really mindful of the content that I put out. My podcast is family friendly. I try to be clean. That's kind of how I am in my regular life too. But at the same time, like, I think a lot of women out there, women in particular, will cosplay as certain characters, not for, not for an attention grabber, because they want to be that character.
Yeah.
And maybe that character in the comics was
risque.
drawn a little risque or was whatever. And I found this, like, with Harley Quinn. I mentioned I'm putting together a Harley Quinn cosplay, and I chose the Injustice version of Harley Quinn because she is maybe the most covered up. She's got a jacket. But even then, like, a little bit of my belly shows because she wears like a corset. And even then, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like, is this going to be all right? But it's, it's interesting because I think a lot of times, like, men don't have to worry about that because their characters are not drawn that way. And so, like, when they're choosing their characters, they don't have to face those same considerations. Right. And so I think, I'm all on board with doing whatever you want, like, be whoever you want, dress however you want, like, do whatever, because, and especially the whole purpose behind cosplay is being able to embody these different characters. And so many of these women represent female empowerment and the ability to stand up for yourself. And so, what better way to do that than say, I'm going to take ownership of my body and, my life by representing these characters. So I'm all about do whatever you want and show as much or as little as you want. And I feel like all of those cosplays are valuable in their own realm. My realm is not that realm.
Yeah. That's the great thing about cosplay.
Sometimes I think, would I have more followers if? But then it's like, I don't really necessarily need that. That's not the audience that I'm trying to appeal to, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Because, the biggest issue that a lot of people have with cosplay is because they like to sexualize everything.
Right.
My issue with cosplay when it gets to sexualization of teenagers, like when they're taking My Hero Academia characters and they're making them sexy. I'm like, that character is 16. Let's not do that. Please, no, let's not do that.
Yeah.
But hey, if you've got it, flaunt it, whatever. But the problem is that, do you feel that cosplay is more female dominated?
I think maybe more females tend to be drawn to it because stereotypically they tend to be the ones that are, seamstresses and more, more in the arts. Yeah. And I do think that there are people out there that are only in cosplay because they've got an OnlyFans account or they've got whatever. And so they're like, well, I can try to get into this, group and get more followers that way. Those people exist for sure, but I think they're more few and far between. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of legitimate cosplayers out there that are, maybe show off their body, but that's just because it's the costumes that they're in. It's not that's not the intent behind what they're doing so much. But yeah, it's very a lot of women are in it, which is awesome. It's cool to have a community that's so well represented with females, And
you mentioned Arizona, community of cosplayers, which they are 100% on board with accepting everybody no matter what. You got groups like Heroes United AZ and Put on the Cape. They do amazing charitable work for Arizona. And those cosplayers I really admire because you're going to children's hospitals, you're showing your love for cosplay, you're dressing up like the character, and you're putting smiles on faces. And that's really cool thing about cosplay is you help others feel happy. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I admire those people as well. I know Arizona Tony Stark and the Spider-Man couple. They're they're huge and they do such amazing work, not just on TikTok. Like
exactly.
So that yeah, those people are rad.
Now, do you what's the biggest con that you've been to? The biggest convention? Would it be San Diego?
Yeah, San Diego Comic-Con. That's the biggest one. We were going to go to FanX Salt Lake for the first time this year. We already had our tickets and our flight and all that.
And all of a sudden, COVID.
Well, no more. Yeah. But yeah, San Diego and it's funny because we pretty much have lived in the Phoenix and San Diego realm. And then this year we were like, you know what, we want to branch out. So our goal is to go to Salt Lake this year. And go. There's a bit Dragon Con. What is another big one we were going to try to go to next year, and maybe still might. But we have decided to try to go on a little convention tour and go to as many as we can around the country.
So what do you feel about these cons that are actually opening up? Like LA Con is supposed to be happening in December. I think there was a horror con that's supposed to be at the end of October here in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little weird because like schools are open up now, and I've got 35, 40 kids in a classroom, and 4,000 kids on a campus, and so it's a little strange because it's kind of like, well, if that could happen, then maybe we could have a smaller convention. But also, me personally, I don't think, if Phoenix announced tomorrow we'll have a con, I don't think I'd go. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
It's a little too soon, maybe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if how well attended it is and how well it's managed.
Well, even with schools. Yeah, exactly. With the costumes, you can wear masks and you're good.
Yeah.
However, in schools, they've tried the hybrid method, and there are already kids getting sick with COVID and parents getting sick with COVID. Teachers are getting sick with COVID. Which, if I was a teacher, I'm like, I'm cool to stay home and do my online classes. We'll just wait a couple weeks, see what happens with this petri dish, and then
right.
But you never know.
Yeah,
You never know. We'll
see. I don't know. I'm just hoping 2021. I'm hoping by convention season 2021 things have normalized. But also, I was one of those in like March where I was like, oh, by summer, like it'll all blow over. And like clearly that didn't happen. So I've stopped trying to predict the future and just we'll see.
Just like, you know what? When they shoot my arm with the stuff and then say you're good, all right, we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
I just fear that like it's gonna be like the flu shot where we have to get it every year, and I'm like, oh, I always get sick when I get the flu shot.
I do too.
So I'm like, I don't get the flu shot because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's like the measles shot where they're like, oh, now you can never get COVID, I'm like, all right, awesome, cool,
yeah,
I'll take it, But yeah. So do you have any horror stories with your cosplay? Like stuff where everything went wrong with cosplay and it was a horrible day?
I'm living a horror story right now with one of my cosplays. So I ordered, and I don't want to like call out the company, so I won't put the company on blast yet because I'm still in the middle. I'm still in the middle of the process, so there's still a possibility that they might do right by me, but if they don't, then I definitely will call out the company. But I ordered a Captain Marvel cosplay, and anyone who has commissioned like a full cosplay, either locally or from overseas, like how pricey it can get. Yeah. So it was several $100s, and I did custom sizing. I triple checked my measurements, like all the thing. Sent it in. Waited 2 months. It arrived. Completely wrong sizing. I mean, like, the gloves were too big on my husband. They looked like they would have fit the hole. Wow. My top was like a crop top, basically. My pants wouldn't even like zip up in the back. I mean, it was just a nightmare. It looked like the pieces were mismatched for like several different people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know who they thought this was going to fit, but no human I've ever seen is going to wear this different type of like sizing. So I contacted the company, and they're not domestic, they're overseas. And so I was like, I don't know how to correct this, but and I'd done my research. Like, I know a lot of these overseas companies, sometimes it can be sketchy. And so I've done my research. It's a reputable business. A lot of people have had great success with them. I talked to people individually about like how to order and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, contacted the company, and they're like, okay, we'll fix it for you, but we need you to send it back to us. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, cost me $160 to ship it back. And then when it gets there, they're like, oh, they're keeping it at customs because it's too valuable. They won't let us pick it up.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, okay, that's not my fault. So you guys need to do something about it. And they're like, it's okay. You know what? We'll still make you a new suit and we'll send it out to you. But this was back. So I started this order process in April.
Wow.
So we're now in October. I sent the suit back in June. So it's been June to October, and I contacted them just a couple weeks ago and was like, what's going on? I redid my measurements. I even took pictures of my measurements and was like, look, like, this is who I am. Please don't send me a whole suit. Yeah. Right. And I contacted them a couple weeks ago, and they're like, yeah, it's still in process. So I'm still just waiting to see if like several $100s is going to be in the toilet, or if I will get a suit out of this at some point. So I'm kind of glad the cons have been canceled, and I wasn't counting on that suit. But
yeah, exactly. Well, you know, it's always good to try to go local if you can, you know, with ordering commissions and everything like that. With
learn my lesson.
But you know, hey, it's all right. You know, it's trial and error, right? You know,
my husband got his Captain America suit from the same company.
Oh,
okay. And it's great. Fits him like a glove, looks amazing, like amazing quality.
Yeah.
So he couldn't be happier, but I don't know what happened with mine.
Yeah, some local companies that are here, but they're kind of pricey, is Superheroes Unlimited. They do amazing work as well with commissions. But pretty pricey, but you get good work.
Yeah, that's the trade-off. When you get domestic, or local, you're going to get high quality, and you're going to know that it's going to be amazing, but you're also going to be paying
at least $1,000.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty horror story, pretty big horror story, and I hope you get your cosplay back quickly.
Nice.
And hopefully
Me too.
So what about a funny cosplay story? Do you have a funny cosplay story?
Funny cosplay story. Yeah, I've got a few. One of my favorite kind of funny cosplay stories is so the first year we wore our Lego heads, we couldn't, when we put those things on, we can't go anywhere. We can't move, we can't walk, because every 5 seconds someone's asking for a picture. And so we just got used to put them on, stand there, take a bunch of pictures, and then when we have somewhere to go, take them off and carry them around. But so the first year where we're walking around, we're carrying our heads, and a lady, like, we hear Legos, and we're thinking someone's just kind of maybe yelling at us or something. We don't know, but we're just carrying our heads like this, and the Legos gets louder and louder and louder. Legos! And we're like, what the heck? And so we turn around, and this lady, she's sweating, she's out of breath, she's like, okay, can I get a picture with you guys? And we're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, calm down, like, what the? She had seen us from like way across the exhibit hall in San Diego, like the complete opposite end, and she wanted a picture with us, and so she just full on Robert Patrick Terminator 2, like sprinted across the floor to get to us, and she was so out of breath, she was like shaking by the time she got to us, and we're like, you need a minute? She's like, yeah. So we had to like give her a minute to calm down. put the heads on, and then get the picture. But the best part of the whole story was afterwards, like we took the head off and we're like, so are you a big X-Files fan? And she's like, what? And we're like, X-Files, we're Mulder and Scully, like, and she's like, oh, no, I just like Legos. We're like, all right then.
Cool.
Good for you.
Yeah, you meet some very interesting people sometimes when you're cosplaying. Some very interesting people.
For sure.
You know, it's free. So would that be one of your top best in-character interactions you've ever had? One of the
we've had a lot of good ones. Jones and Kilgrave, we had some pretty good in-character interactions because we would run into other Defenders cosplayers, and they would always give my husband a really hard time as Kilgrave. And then I think probably my favorite was we saw a lady who had a t-shirt on that said Kilgrave made me do it. And my husband just like walked up behind her and was all, he goes, Jessica! And she was like, what the? Totally freaked her out. And then we ended up getting a picture with her, so that was really
nice. That's cool. Yeah, no, you have so many funny moments when you're in cosplay, and that's one of the benefits of being a cosplayer. So, have you ever how do I just say? You said you styled your wigs before. Is that like a pain in the neck to style a wig, or do you feel that you've got it mastered now?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. In fact, one of the reasons I did put together the 13th Doctor was because I was like, I need to find more cosplays that just let me wear my hair the way that it is.
Yeah.
And Jodie Whittaker and I thankfully have similar hairstyles, but yeah, I feel like almost everything that I've done, I've had to wear a wig. That was, the other reason for the Lego head was like, I can just put my hair up in a ponytail and throw a Lego head on.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to try to do the Mandalorian soon. Same thing. So I can just put something on. But yeah, I'm not a fan of styling wigs. Not a fan of, even so much so that I used to just dye my hair when I needed it. But then, like Gillian Anderson, my hair started getting really fried out from all the hair dye. So I was like, I'm going to go back to blonde and just stick with it. But yeah, right now I'm working on my Harley Quinn wig, and it is a labor of love. But it'll look good when it's all done.
Well, that's good. That's good. So, have you ever been mistaken as a different character while in cosplay?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My poor husband. He is all the time. I'm usually recognized. We dressed up as Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters, like the gatekeeper and the keymaster. Yeah. And we did that like our whole family. So my daughter was a Ghostbuster and my son was a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Nice.
And if anyone who can recall the Rick Moranis character has like this contraption on his head that they had used, the Ghostbusters had used to try to, figure out what was going on with him. So my husband built this thing out of like a colander and various wires and whatever. And everybody thought he was Wayne Zielinski from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
Because that is also Rick Moranis, and he also has a thing on it. Yeah. And so everywhere we went, they're like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids! Honey, I Shrunk the Kids! And he's like, Ghostbusters!
Ghostbusters.
Close, but no, and he got to the point where, like, he was just like, yeah, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Fine. Sure. Yeah.
It's
like, I'm with the rest of the Ghostbuster crew here, man.
I know, and I'm, like, right next to him. But, they still saw him first because of the thing on his head.
Yeah, of course. So, have you ever lost a piece of your cosplay at a convention?
Yeah, the only thing I can think off the top of my head, I had my high heels break one year when I was Dana Scully, and ended up like walking around in my socks, which was not fun. And then another cosplay we've done is for my 90s kids out there, Dick Tracy and Breathless Mahoney.
Nice.
And it's a simple thing, but Dick Tracy he's got this yellow hat with like a black ribbon around it.
Yeah.
5 seconds after getting into the con, the ribbon just fell off the hat. And we were like, for real? Like, what? So
Yeah.
that was one thing where we were like, crap. But thankfully, we haven't lost anything major. We've been
Yeah.
able to keep all our pieces.
The good thing is now there's cosplay medics over at the conventions, and so you can always repair your cosplay if something falls off or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
we've had to rely on some the kindness of strangers to get us some safety pins and things.
So have you thought of trying to learn how to sew so you can start like making your own cosplays?
Yeah, so we have a sewing machine. My husband actually got it for me for Christmas a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and we just, time, the time to devote to it. I'm one of those people where I'm like, I'm gonna stick to the things that I know and the things that I'm good at and go from there. But my husband's very much, I'm gonna try new things. I'll just watch a YouTube tutorial and figure it out. So I did work a couple years ago. My mother-in-law and I, we were like, let's make a couple pieces and let's see what we can do. But I think the project we had decided on was kind of too ambitious, so we had to rein it back and she ended up just making something for my husband. But yeah, we'll see. One day, I would like to. I would like to at least be able to add embellishments or, adjust as needed. But we'll see. It's on my list, my to-do list.
So what's your ultimate dream cosplay to do?
Well, Captain Marvel is up there. So I really hope I get that suit at some point. That's definitely up there. Other than that,
Are you going to try to do the helmet too as well?
not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
But it would be something I, would work up to maybe.
Nice.
But yeah, I would say Captain Marvel, but then we've talked about doing Cyclops and Jean Grey, or Rogue and Gambit. We've talked about going the X-Men route. So I would say that would be up near the top of my dream cosplay. And then this is super obscure, but but for anyone out there who may even get this reference, may remotely get this reference, there was a show over a decade ago, called Pushing Daisies.
Yep.
And Ned and Chuck were the two main characters, and we've actually started putting together that cosplay. So that's very, very niche, but very that's up there too, because they're just my favorites. So we're working on that.
That's good. So, have you ever been in a cosplay panel before?
Not specifically for cosplay. I have cosplayed while on a panel, but I haven't done a specific panel for cosplay. My panels are the panels that I've hosted and been a part of are television, based on TV content. So, but yeah, I would love to in the future. Anybody ever hosting a podcast panel, I'd love to be, your closet cosplay representative.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
Nice. So, what's the most difficult cosplay that you've ever done?
I would say my Rufio. And there's a few reasons. One, as I mentioned, that's the one that was the most customized. Every piece I created or made in some way.
Nice.
I didn't just buy it. But the other reason that was so difficult was the original reason I made that cosplay was actually for Spirit Week at the high school where I was teaching. So it was homecoming week, and the theme for homecoming was like Peter Pan, was like Welcome to Neverland. And I had this genius idea like 2 days before where I was like, what if I dressed up like Rufio? Wouldn't that be fun? But of course, it's 2 days till the day. And initially I thought I'll just go buy a Rufio costume. They don't really make that. It's not a thing.
They don't.
You can go to. So I was like, well, what if? I mean, I've got I had 5 years of cosplaying under my belt at that point. And so I was like, what if? What if I just try to throw it together? So I built that whole thing. I put that whole thing together in under 48 hours,
Nice.
less than 2 days. So that was really challenging. There was a lot of late nights, but it was also really rewarding and very fun. And then I got to use it at a convention that same year. I wore it to Phoenix Comic-Con and had my daughter dress up like Tinker, which was really fun.
Nice. Very good. So yeah, have you ever dived into character makeup yet?
A little bit. We've done we've dove into injury makeup a lot. We've done I've done a gender bent Daryl Dixon, and then my husband is Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, and so we did some zombie apocalypse looking makeup. We've done we did that. Oh, and then we did Fight Club. I've done a gender bent Tyler Durden, and then my husband was a narrator from Fight Club, and we wanted to look like he beat himself up. So I was beat up as well. So we did kind of matching injuries for a con, and that was really fun. So we've dabbled in that, but now with our Harley Quinn and Joker, that's going to be the first time that we've done full body pretty much on him, because he's shirtless, so he's white and he's got bullet holes like a bloody chest. So we that's going to be pretty fun. We started getting the stuff and started doing some tests and getting my white face and stuff like that. But so we're actually really excited about that. We're both pretty comfortable with that
Nice.
at this point. So
That's good. Well, I hope it turns out the way you want it to be, and that'll be awesome to see the pictures that come out of it.
thanks. Yeah, we're hoping to put together and get a photo shoot done and reveal that cosplay in full by the end of the year.
Nice. So, in your opinion, what makes a cosplayer a professional cosplayer?
Professional. I mean, I guess when I think of the word professional, I think that you're making money off. So professional cosplayers, their hobby. And I know there's a lot of people out there that can, whether it's through Patreon or being able to be special guests at various events or things like that. Yeah. So I guess when I look at a professional cosplayer, that's what I would think, is someone who's not necessarily like that's their full-time job, but they're able to earn or generate some income from it. Yeah.
Nice. So what's the favorite part about cosplaying?
My favorite part about cosplay is I have social anxiety, which I think is a common thing in the geek community. At least I have found a lot of us struggle with developing interpersonal relationships, feeling comfortable, especially in crowds. But there's this magical thing that happens when I put on a costume where I'm able to, I've never felt more confident than I do when I'm dressed up. And whether that's because I'm able to be somebody else for a little bit. I mean, when I walk around with that Lego head, I'm completely anonymous, and that's fun. But I also think part of having anxiety is, it's not that you don't like attention, but I think sometimes you fear negative attention, and you fear, what people are thinking about you and if people are judging you. And at least in my experience at conventions, because it's such a welcoming community and everybody is so just happy to be there and happy to see other people there who share in the same fandoms and things that they love, there's been like nothing but I'm lucky in that regard. I've had nothing but a positive experience at conventions and in cosplay. And so I think that's my favorite part, is being able to like find people who love the same things that you love and are just as passionate about it, if not more so, and don't judge you because of it. They don't think you're weird. They don't think, what are you doing? They're excited to be in that with you. And that's been the hardest part about not having conventions this year, is we really do look forward to leaving the kids at home for a couple days, getting a little bit of a vacation at a convention, but also just being able to be ourselves completely 100% authentically ourselves in that environment. And so we definitely miss that.
Awesome. And of course, like everything, there's also an evil side to everything. So what are some bad things about cosplay that you found?
I think the worst part is just some of the toxic attitudes people can have towards whatever it may be. You know, like I know there's some people out there that are like, oh, you commission your pieces, you're not a real cosplayer. Yeah. Like you gotta make them by hand, or you know, judging people because they cosplay opposite gender, or you know, gender bent cosplays, or because of their body type or their shape or their size or different things like that. And I think that's the worst thing, because I'm like, of all communities, this should be the one where that doesn't exist and that doesn't happen. Exactly. But unfortunately, it's still that.
Who knew that there would be bullies amongst nerds?
Right. It's like, wait a second, didn't we all like have to conquer this at some point? Yeah. Like, shouldn't we be past this now? But so I think that's the worst part. But again, thankfully, I've been pretty blessed and pretty lucky that I've had a lot of positive experiences, and I do my best to try to inject positivity and support people around me, and even when they cosplay and they're part of a fandom that I have no idea what it is, I'm always like, you're awesome, like you look amazing, and it's great, because I don't need to know what it is to know that you're having a freaking amazing time, you know, doing it. And so I hope that the good continues to outweigh the bad.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you for your time, and you know, I know you're a busy mom, and you have a lot of things to do today, probably. So, thank you again for coming on to the show. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Wish you luck in all of your future cons.
Thank you so much. It was awesome. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care.